now joined by Coach Lance Lovell of the McKinney North girls soccer team. Going into the playoffs, second in your district, and you lost it because of a kind of a fluke tiebreaker, like the fifth tiebreaker. So you gave up a goal to Denison in your first district game, and that ends up, because your head-to-head with Prosper was so close and you guys scored the same number of goals, that ends up being the difference between you having a 1 seed and Prosper having a 1 seed. You're the 2 seed now going to the playoffs. How does that affect you guys going forward? Is that something that weighs on you going into the playoffs?
Well, it's frustrating. You know, it's one of those situations where that's why we have these tiebreakers. You know, both Prosper and us are tied in points, so we got co-district champions. But then you have to go through the different tiebreakers to figure out who's going to be number 1 and who's going to be the number 2 seed. And we were tied with everything going down to the 4th tiebreaker. And the 4th tiebreaker was goals against in district. And we happened to give up a silly one to Denison in the first district game. And that was the difference. You know, they had 3 goals against, we had 4 goals against, and that was the difference. And now we're sitting at the number 2 seed going in, and we play Liberty on Tuesday instead of Centennial. And you know, not looking forward or anything, but now we have to look at going through Highland Park and going through Frisco High, and that's going to be a tough road for anyone, not just us, but anyone who happened to be in that position. It's going to be a tough road to get through. But you know, just looking at game-to-game basis, we're looking at Liberty right now. You know, we're trying to prepare and be ready to give our best effort to take care of Liberty and move on to the second round.
Those 2 games against Prosper were very competitive. You won that first game 3-2 and a scoring fest. I know you had Belicia Mendiola, and Prosper has a star forward of their own who's very good, and so a good matchup there. And then they beat you 1-0 in the second game. They were able to just edge you out there. And talk about those 2 games and just the overall kind of thrill of coaching those 2 games.
Well, the first game was at home at our place, and you know, we went up 3-0 in that game, and I think we caught Prosper off guard a little bit. Their goalkeeper was overcommitting; she was coming out too far, so all 3 of our goals came from that. So we got up on them 3-0, and then they just started fighting and clawing their way back. You know, they got their first goal against us in that game was you know, questionable. It was shot, ball bounced on the line. The AR called it in. Their second shot was a good shot, you know, so it ended 3-2. And then we went into to their place the second time, and it was their senior night. They were really kind of, you know, geared up and ready to play, and they did. They came to play, and they put a lot of pressure on us, a lot of high pressure defense, and really affected our game because we play a very methodical possession style game of soccer, and it altered the way that we play because they were being so aggressive. But you know, hats off to them because they played the lack of real good competition in our district against us, and we weren't ready for it.
Got that split result there.
Right. Able
to be in the first time, lost the second time. Looking at the stats from some of your players throughout the season, very good stats as usual. And these are unofficial. These are the ones that I was able to gather. Belicia had 20 goals and 10 assists on the season. And
that's correct.
Hadley Tucker had 7 goals, 9 assists, and Sabrina Marno 14 goals, 5 assists. Those 3 players are really the focal point of your ability to get the ball in the back of the net.
They are. You know, they're all 3 of them are very adept to being able to go to goal, and they have that nose about them to, you know, so to speak, to go to goal. Sabrina's got a great shot from outside. Belicia is just technically is just very gifted, and she creates opportunities for herself very well. And Hadley, she's got the speed, and you know, she's leading the team in assists now, or tied in assists maybe. But those three have been very, very instrumental in our success this year, because their ability to, like you said, put the ball in the back of the net.
Also want to talk about your defense, your back four, you know, 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores. That was going to be the real troublesome spot going into the season, is how were they going to be able to perform? And obviously they're continuing to learn and get better each and every day, but you've been impressed with the way that they've been able throughout this season to start to shore up and get some of these shutouts. And really only 7 goals allowed all year is a very good mark to set.
Yes, you know, like you said, I was very concerned about the back four, the defense coming into this year, because we lost 3 senior starters on defense. So it's been a growing process. You know, we didn't start off that great in our scrimmages or in the first tournament that we played in defensively. But like, as you said, 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores playing the second part of the district. You know, I'm very pleased with that. We also have a junior that plays back there too, but she got hurt in the first round of district, so she's been out for several games now. But you know, their youth and their inexperience has grown over the course of the season, and they've gotten better and better. And I'm pleased with the way that they're performing. Do we need to continue to work on that? Yes, we do. There's some things that we still need to get better at. But I think it's also attributed to the fact that Clarissa's back there in goal. You know, she does a good job in goal. She does a good job of actually directing the defense back there from the goalkeeper position. So that's very helpful.
It's so important for those goalkeepers to be able to shout out and to let them know where to go, because sometimes as a defender, you've got your head turned around, you need a little help in position.
Absolutely.
And with that back four, too, being so young, that's really going to be a staple for you in the next couple of years going forward for this program.
I hope so. I hope so. If they continue to grow like they did this year, I really am hoping for a quality defense next year as well. You know, you said 7 goals against in 16 games. That's 10 shutouts, 0.4 goals against per game. That's, you know, looking at the stats, that's pretty good, you know. But you know, watching from the sideline and coaching them up and practice and everything, I know that we have some things to work on. So there's definitely room for growth.
Talking about the playoffs, and also, as we mentioned earlier, you're playing Liberty and then the first round, and it's a loaded section with Highland Park and Frisco. I'm sure they're not happy to see you in there, as well as you're not happy to see them, with so many talented teams in that particular section of the draw. Going into the postseason, you're coming from a district, and I know as a head coach that you're not going to, you know, you don't look down on some of these teams, but, you know, looking at Denison, Sherman, and Anna, they're nowhere near the quality of opponents that you're going to see in the playoffs. It's one of those weaker districts, except for you and Prosper. And kind of like in Wichita State in basketball, how they came from a weaker conference into the NCAA tournament and got beat by 2 points by Kentucky in the second round. How much does it concern you going into the postseason that perhaps because you haven't had tight games, game in and game out, like Boyd and McKinney has in 10-5A, right, that might transition in the playoffs and you might not be up to speed, for instance?
Well, you're right. Exactly right. You know, our district, really the only competition that we have is Prosper, and us with them as well. You know, nothing against Denison, Sherman, and Anna. They work hard. They do what they can. But the speed of play on the field in those games is much slower than the competition that we're going to see going into playoffs. And that's what I've stressed over the last week and a half with the team preparing for this first playoff game on Tuesday is speed of play. You know, we've got to play faster. I've been restricting touches during practice and increasing the intensity and the level of pressure from the defensive side of the ledger to help us, hopefully help us get to that speed of play level that we need to be at going into playoffs Tuesday against Liberty.
And going up against Liberty, you went up against them last year. Is this team a carbon copy of last year's team, or have they gone through a lot of overhaul in their playing rotation?
Well, you know, just like any school, they're going to lose some, they're going to gain some. We scrimmaged them way back in early January, and they showed, as far as their formation goes, they showed to be exactly the same type of formation they were when we played them in the playoffs last year. But that's been a long time. You know, that's been over 2 months, and a lot of things can change. Just like a lot of things have changed in our team too since we met them in a scrimmage. But we've got a score to settle against Liberty, and they're the ones that knocked us out last year. So we're gonna be ready to go.
I'm sure players are very excited about this matchup. Coach
right.
Lovell, thanks so much again for joining us today on Sports Talk, and good luck to you in the postseason.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's going to be a home game for McKinney North tomorrow night. It is going to be, just looking for the time, 6 o'clock at Rompo Stadium against Frisco Liberty. This team went 7-1 in district play, co-district champs with Prosper, 14-2 overall on the season, looking to knock off a very talented Liberty team in the first round of the playoffs.